Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I
How's it
almost
going?
want to say that I almost want to say today I need to be grounded or something. I've
Yeah.
seen some things that aren't there today, and it's just like my mind quick saw something, and it's like, and it's not like saw something like spiritual or any of that kind of stuff. It's just like I don't know. Not I just don't feel as grounded.
Yeah, your perception of something, like
Yes,
what you're seeing and what your mind is processing are not on the same page.
they're not on the same page. They're in two different parallels at one time.
Yeah, right. I get
Yeah.
that. So let's talk about that. What does a grounding mean to you? What does that look like? And why? Why would we do that?
Well, being more centered. So, like early on, I would say early on when I first started finding the spirituality stuff, when I first started finding this connection that I could feel energies and stuff, it would almost make me feel high. Like I would be like floating around and giddy and silly. And I actually didn't want to leave that place because that felt so great. I wasn't on anything. I didn't have to take anything. I just felt like elated and everything was just joyous. But then I recognize when you're like that all the time, well, today or some mornings, like when you wake up in the morning and you're not really all the way there and you're like bumping into the walls or you like lose your balance and go to fall over, that to me is not being grounded. And that was, I had to be rubbing the wall, touching along the wall this morning while I was walking to the bathroom. So that should have been a right there, like a no brainer. Hey, go ground yourself. And then grounding ourselves in so many different ways. When I was going through schooling and stuff for massage, or I had done a Reiki class, because they said that sometimes you might feel you're ungrounded, or your client might feel that way. So she would recommend that you would actually have your no shoes on, and then you would kind of walk backwards, but kind of dragging your feet against the floor. Which why walking backwards, I don't know what that would do, besides bringing you into contact with your feet, into the earth. And then it's like we can do. I don't even remember
And make
exactly
you
what.
more aware too. Make you more be more present because we don't typically walk backwards.
Oh, that's true.
So actually bring your awareness to right now by doing. I don't know. I'm just
That actually
yeah.
makes sense because you can't walk backwards and, and be flighty because you ain't going to be walking backwards for very long.
Right.
So, but no, so being grounded is like there's so many different ways to get there. One of the ways I like to do, and it only takes a matter of minutes, is just to take off your shoes and put it into the dirt. Like not even into grass, or everyone wants to talk about putting it in the grass or having this place, and it's like me, I don't care if there's rocks or whatever. I'll just take it off and put it right directly onto the soil, because it for me that helps, and I'll just close my eyes and relax for a few minutes because I don't like that flightiness anymore.
Yeah.
The
Well,
flightiness is fun.
oh yeah,
Go ahead.
I wanna talk about that though a little bit more before we share a multitude of ways of getting grounded. That there are people. I hear it. Well, when we implement or have some sort of belief system around being a spirit and body, our body is dense energy and our spirit is very high vibrational energy, and we have a sense. I know this is an explanation that worked for me in my understanding, and so I'm just sharing that from that space. So if it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, then that's okay. Fast forward a little bit. um, is that our body almost seems like it's constricting our spirit, so to speak, and because our spirit is very high vibrational, and when we come into the physical body, we may have a sense that we like a sense of not belonging, like there's something in us that says we don't belong here, but we do for now. But it's that what may feel like a disconnection from source, from that pure energy of love. And then we come here and we have all these other emotions around us that, I mean, let's be real, like kind of suck. So, um, so we don't, we, and it's not conscious. Most people I've talked to, it's not a conscious awareness, but almost like a subconscious awareness that flighty sensation that they want, that their spirit wants to not be in the body, but because we chose to have a physical life, we need the spirit in the body so we can have the physical life, right? And so there might be a sense of like lightheadedness, or like you said, bumping into the wall, like almost a drunk feeling, but you know, there's not been any kind of substance in taken in. And so it's important because when we're in that space like that, I mean, accidents happen and we want to be safe. So it's important, even though we have this sense of not belonging here and we want to be back with source and that pure essence of love that we so desire to have in the physical body, but we may not, or probably aren't experiencing it. It's important for us to be here because we have lessons, life lessons, we have growth and expansion that we're here for. And we gotta be here to experience it. That doesn't, I mean, the way I explain it doesn't sound like fun. I mean, it's just like, God, jeez. But I mean, even so, we can create our fun. We can still have fun. We can still, you know, allow our spirit to shine bright and play and be in that childlike curiosity and adventure. But at the same time, in order to do that, we have to be grounded in our body. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say part of so it is fun. It may not, that may not have, I mean, like you said, it may not sound fun, but it is fun. We have, and with this is something I've been practicing this last week and not even really knowing why. It was just for this conversation. But
for this practice, we had to practice it so you could talk about it.
That's right. But it's like recognizing our skin. Like we didn't have this skin. We didn't have any of this stuff. We get to be in this spiritual, you know, this energetic presence otherwise, but we're not feeling things. We don't touch things. We don't get to experience other things. We don't get to like see ourselves in our skin like this and to touch our skin and to feel our hair and to look at our eyes and to touch our eyelashes. Like there's so many things. When I'm taking a shower now, like I'm really like rubbing my skin and like closing my eyes and I'm like so thankful. So thankful. Like how amazing is it that we even have this skin suit for us to run around in while we're here to play? You know, how amazing is that? And that we get to create it how we want to. Just like we pick our own parents, you know, that we have so much more control over all this whole experience than we were taking credit for or paying attention to. We've been taught so much to pay attention to everything outside of ourselves, which we've talked about many times. And this is just another aspect of it, because really it's about being inside of ourselves. It's about like lay there. I put earplugs in at night. A lot of times I'll hear my heart beating. So I'll sit and listen to my own heartbeat. I'll sit and just notice that I'm smelling right now, or I'm breathing. I'm feeling that sensation of the air passing through my nostrils and into my mouth or down into my throat. Like I'm really starting to pay such a close detail to these little things because I appreciate it now. I appreciate this body. It's taken me 51 years because I did not appreciate my body until recently. And it's only because I've slowed down. This is what's been going on this last week. It's only because I've slowed down to notice like how thankful that I am and how much I appreciate this body so I'm able to experience this or have this experience. Freeman always calls it our antenna, that our physical bodies are antenna. And sometimes I feel like our antennas have been so tuned into everything outside of ourselves, we forget to tune into ourselves. And that has to do with being grounded too. It has to do with that. We talk about balance, but balance really is in harmony. So it's being in harmony within ourselves, because we're like that gateway between the earth and the spirituality or the energy. I mean, we're all those things really. When you, like you said, our bodies are dense, but it's still an energy. We're all energy. So it's just all these little things help me to pay more closer attention to myself. because I've been asking questions like, how do I love myself? How can, what do I want to do? What seems to get my attention? You know, millions of these things, but I ask these questions because how can we get these answers if we don't start fine tuning and paying attention to every little detail of ourselves?
Yes. So good. So good. I want to hit on a couple things that you were, or one thing that you said, because you called it a skin suit. I like that.
Yeah.
That was great. So yeah, we need a skin suit to be here on this planet, similar to if you want to go scuba diving, right? You might wear a dive skin or a dive suit, and then you have, you know, your air tanks and your fins, so you can go play in the water deep down and still be able to breathe. So similar, right? We need this physical body to be here to have our experiences for our growth and expansion. The other thing that I recognize when I am not when I have not taken the time to be grounded, which is a process I do every morning, that if maybe I get up late one day and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to get going, right? And I just skip the whole grounding process and saying my prayers and calling in my universal team and that whole thing. And I just skip that whole process. I will recognize in me how off I feel. Right? I like my head, I like my thinking is off, my perception of stuff is off. I'm more apt to jump into a reactive mode, which is my own old programming, right? I just seem off. Also, what will happen for me, being an empath and very sensitive to other people's energy, is if I don't get grounded in myself and have that reminder of being grounded, and Archangel Michael surrounding me with his blue light of energy to help me maintain my energy, then I am more susceptible to absorbing other people's energy. And now I'm on this emotional roller coaster, and then I feel like I have lost my damn mind because I am just out of whack. So grounding for me, super important, very important. And then, like you said, you know, do a massage, same thing. When you're doing any kind of energy work, if you're not grounded, and now I step in to do energy work on somebody, I'm going to get their energy for sure, right? It's going to be like a suck it all up, and I'm just going to have this whole maybe overwhelming experience because I didn't get grounded, and I'm not aware of, when I say grounded, I also mean being aware of how I feel. So I call it an internal inventory. How am I doing in the moment, like very first thing in the morning when I do my grounding process? How do I feel internally, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually? All four of those to me are important to take a look at. Where am I with myself before I step out of my house or step into the presence of somebody else? And then I can recognize I'm in the presence of this person or people, and I still feel the same. So I'm doing all right. But if I step into the presence of somebody and I haven't done my grounding process, and now all of a sudden I have a headache, or my knee hurts, or I'm angry, or I'm having an anxious moment, you know, it's like, that's not me. That's not mine. But because I didn't take the internal inventory, I may not know if it's mine or not.
True.
Because we're all energy, just saying.
Yeah, we are. I like how you say taking your inventory, and something else I've noticed this past week, even probably more than before. It's like I said, I'm asking questions because I want to evolve past things, and it's interesting how some things have kind of shown up for me this week, like a relationship with one of my first boyfriend, really, like in sixth grade, like showed up. So it was like a forgiveness. You know, it was a forgiving myself because it's like I only knew what I knew then. That's it. I couldn't be any better or any different. So going through that process, but it's not just for me recently, it's not just going through that process and acknowledging the experience or anything like that. It's really just feeling the emotion, which we kind of talked about before, but it's like it's in my experience right now. And when I'm saying feel the emotion, it's not feeling the emotion attached to that boyfriend or to that experience or what experience it took me to way prior to that, you know, as a little girl. It took me to another experience. So one thing led to the other. That was just like a little gateway to drop me into where it actually came from, these emotions that I had. And it was something for me to sit into that space and just to feel that, because it's almost like my guidance was telling me, just sit here and feel it. Just sit here and feel it for a minute. Because it's funny. I say it's funny, it's not really funny, but it kind of is in a way at the same time. But it's like when you're having this experience, when you're just feeling that emotion, it's when I initially noticed that I was feeling that emotion, my first thing was to be like, to shut it down, like, oh, like, hurry up and get on to something else. I caught myself doing that. I would never have noticed that before. I don't, even probably a week ago, I probably wouldn't have noticed it, but it's just something that's happened in the last couple of days. And I noticed that feeling. I noticed immediately when it happened. It's almost like touching a hot plate or a flame, you know, putting your hand too close. It's like I jerked it back real quick. I was like, don't want to do that. And then I realized that what I was doing. So I just stopped and kind of felt it. And it just went away so quickly. Like it was there for a blip and then it was just gone.
Nice. Yeah. And I squint my eyes because I have these lights and they're just like it's like, oh. When I was talking about, this came to me while you were talking, that when I'm talking about my internal inventory, that doesn't always mean like I'm happy and joyful and excited when I wake up. Life happens, experience happens. So if I wake up and I'm laying there and I'm like, in that moment, I can decide, I'm feeling a little sad today, or I'm just not really feeling energetic today, or kind of want to stay in bed all day type of thing. I still get up, but I'm aware. I'm aware this is how I'm feeling right now. I'm aware this is how my mindset is right now. And yes, I can take do what I need to do to raise my vibration up, because that's one of the things we want to do when we're in our physical body, is raise our vibration up. And but that's my choice. I can feel sad all day if I want to, but at least I know I feel sad. And when I go out into public and I feel sad, I'm already feeling sad. Right? That's already the space I'm in. If an experience shows up where from a past experience shows up into the now, and I'm looking at it, I'm already feeling sad. That experience isn't making me feel sad. I'm already feeling sad. It's just popping up, right? Does that make sense? When I just want people to understand, I'm not going to say I wake up every day and I'm just the most joyful person on the planet, because it's not true. I have moments too. So it's just be very aware of where you're at when or before you step out, or before you do a healing process, before you start taking a look at past experiences and let, you know, going through a process to do healing around it.
I think it's possible though to be in that space more often than not, honestly.
Oh yeah.
To be in a good space, because I just feel like that's what we're practicing, or that's what we're, I mean, let's think about it. Some of these things that we learned, we took a little bit of time to learn them. And then it became our process. So I think that it can be, I mean, I feel like we can be in a higher vibration almost always. I think we can find joy in all things. I think we can. It's just a matter of, it's a new training. It's like learning a whole new language, right? Like we've talked about with different things. But to me, it is like, it's very attainable. It's not something that I strive for, because we only can go from moment to moment. I mean, we only have this right now, and which has already passed. So now we're in another now. But it's like it's constant. So it's just really how we want to put our attention on things. It's just like appreciating things, appreciating the carpet, which you've talked about, doing appreciations. It's taking the time for yourself, like every day. You said it a long time ago. I think it was, we were talking about like meditation or how people don't always have time for themselves. And I will tell you, yeah, when you don't feel like you're getting enough sleep and you're being pulled a million different directions, when you're pulling yourself a million different directions, because you're really not being pulled, we have to take responsibility for our lives. And my life was the way it was before. I say that because I had an experience recently. So I was going to go pick up Vivi yesterday, and then we had bought some concrete, Quickcrete from a local place, and the mix was off. So it wasn't setting up here. So I had to, I say had to, I didn't have to. I chose to, because I purchased it, to contact the place to go pick this up. Well, my first thought was like, shit, I have to go do all this by myself. I have to go pick up Vivi. This is my mindset. Like, this happened yesterday morning, so I had to switch it, and it did. I have to go pick up Vivi, and I'm going to go over to the store here, and then I'm going to have to be there with her, standing around, wait. Like, I was creating this whole thing, and it didn't turn out that way, because it's like I switched it so fast. But I caught what I was doing. Like, but it reminded me when my kids were little, and I was married to Jim. I mean, we were together. The girls were little when we first got together, but for the longest time, it was always me taking my two girls to the grocery store by myself in the basket. Everything was like hard, and I was working. I mean, I didn't think it was hard then, but it was like 40-hour plus weeks, and then you're dragging the kids around. It's like you just didn't have any time for yourself, so you felt tired all the time. But I never, ever would have asked for help back then, for God's sakes. And I was even with Jim, and I wouldn't even ask for help. I didn't, because I was molested as a child, I didn't trust everybody to be with my kids. So for me, that was my control thing. I took them everywhere I went, and if I wasn't at work. And then finally, like yesterday, it's like I was going through that experience. It's like, wait a minute, I've got this amazing partner that I'm with right now, that we're growing together. And it's like, and I caught myself. It's like we get into this, I don't know if it's just most women or if men do the same thing, but into this mind reading mode. Like, why aren't you like offering to do this, or why aren't you doing these things? So it was like all these huge things like happened, but I would ask questions, right? I've been asking questions to pass stuff. And it's like how this stuff presented. It was like, holy smokes. Like, this is what I was doing to myself before. I felt like I was the Wonder Woman. Like, I had to take care of everything. And now I'm like, I can do it all. Sure. I don't want to do it all. I don't want to be the only one responsible. I want to be with people that we're all working together, and we have this community, which is so weird for me because I was never like that. But I also recognize that we're all connected, all of us. So it's been the whole process made me stop and really think about what I was thinking. It's like, I can do things a little bit different. I can pick up Vivi after I go to the other store and handle things, which went really smoothly. The people were awesome. Everything was taken care of. I got Vivi, no problem. Everything worked out perfectly. And then I had a conversation with Freeman afterwards about what, I wasn't mad at him, but this is what I was putting myself through just yesterday morning. But if I didn't slow down to even pay attention to myself, I wouldn't have caught that. But if we don't take the time every single day, so what it boils down to is having time for ourselves, right? Making time for ourselves. Sure, you're exhausted all the time because you're making yourself run around and do all this stuff. And you've talked about setting the alarm for half an hour earlier, getting up earlier that morning. And for me, it's like, okay, angels, tomorrow morning, I want to wake up at 6:30 instead of 7 o'clock. Well, I will. It might be the dogs that come over and wake me up, but I'll wake up. And then it's like, that's my opportunity right then to meditate or to whatever I need to do that makes it feel like I'm giving myself attention. And then I'm recharged. I actually have more energy. I can handle more things. Things seem to just roll out one by one by one by one. It's easy. Life is easy. But we make it difficult. I started to make it a struggle yesterday. And I caught it. And I felt the emotions. And then I moved through that. So it was like such a process. But until you slow down enough, because until I slowed down enough, there's no way I would have gotten to where I'm at right now. There's no way. Until I started acknowledging myself, until you start deciding that you're worthy enough to give yourself attention, things aren't going to change.
And you're one person.
They weren't going to. Yeah.
You're one person on the planet doing that, and we're all connected. And then I'm a person, I might wake up that day feeling the same way, right? oh my God,
Hmm.
I got all this stuff to do. So now there's two of us, and there's over 7 billion people on the planet. And how many other people are vibrating at that level of overwhelm or anxiety or frustration or irritation, right? And recently, I want to bring this up because recently I saw when I went to log into one of my emails, um, I saw a headline, and it was something to the effect of, um, well, there's two different ones. One is that supposedly the moon is going to be experiencing a wobble soon. I didn't read the article, it was just a headline. And then another day, the headline had to do with the core of the earth is growing um, more on one side than the other. So the earth is going to start tilting, and right. And so again, just headlines. I didn't go into the articles. I didn't research it or anything. But what came to my, and it said scientists don't understand. And I was, to me, after, you just saying what you said, if we're all connected, that means we're connected to the earth, we're connected to the moon, we're connected to the stars. So if people, I'm going to guarantee over half the population of the planet is in some kind of fear-based mode. Overwhelm, anxiety, resentment, guilt, shame, anger, over half the planet. And so you take that energy and it's emanated out away from our bodies, we're all connected. Of course the planet is going to be off kilter. Of course there's going to be an issue there. Of course the moon is going to have a wobble because we're all wobbling in our own energy because we're not taking the time to be grounded in our body. We're not taking the time to nurture ourselves. We're not taking the time to be mindful of how we're feeling. We're not taking the time to raise our vibration from whatever we're at. Maybe you are angry. You can't get to joy like that. It's going to take some steps of emotions to get to joy. But get there, because the less you're vibrating in a space that is that lower vibrational emotion, and we're raising the consciously, collectively raising the vibration in each one of us. Is it possible the earth is going to heal? Is it possible the moon's going to be like, oh, okay, we're cool, right? I mean, what was it? Meteors this past week came very close to the earth. I mean, there's shit going on, but that's because we're all out of sorts. We are all off kilter in ourselves. And to me, it makes sense. It just makes sense.
Gotcha.
Somebody else listening to this might think I'm just a whack job, but that's okay. I'm good with that. But when you talk about energy, it makes sense.
But also so think about that as far as energy goes. The one thing that you said when you were just talking about these emails, those emails were focused on fear. I feel
So it
like,
wasn't the emails, it was the headlines.
or a headline.
So when I
But
go
those,
to log into my email, right, before I even log in, just the platform that I use to log in, there's these headlines, and I'll read through them because some of them I find funny and some of them I find interesting. Some of them I'm like, you're a dumbass, but that's judgmental. But so it's just some things that I see before I go into my emails. Yeah.
so the headline was fear-based.
Yes.
True.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's up to anybody that wants to put energy towards that, because here we go, we're going to talk about energy again. If we're talking about energy and fear-based, well, that's been going on. That's a control, and that's been going on for a long time. We were raised with it by our parents. If you don't do this, I'm going to wait till your dad gets home. You're going to get your ass beat. Fear-based. That's fear-based. Is it true? I don't know. On a spiritual side, I would probably say no. Not that I disagree with you, but it's on a spiritual thing, like on a lot of different spiritual speakers. Like, let's just use Esther Hicks for Abraham. Abraham says, there is nothing wrong with this earth. There is nothing wrong, but it's a fear base. So
Right.
if someone can hook you in by creating a fear for you, then now you are no longer paying attention to your own awareness, and you're
Right.
not paying attention to your higher vibration and your connectedness. I don't think that there's such a duality, but I'm getting past this duality. I don't think there's such a I don't think that things are as bad as we think that they are. I don't think that they're as bad as they try to portray them to be. I feel like the earth is constantly, when we have a volcano erupt, that's another way that the earth finds its own balance. When we're stripping from one place, it's filling it up on another place. It's keeping itself in harmony at all times. Like you would say, we don't necessarily go with balance so much as because harmony is, if you're a masculine and a feminine, or you have a man and a woman in a relationship, sometimes one's going to give more than the other. If you're a masculine and a feminine, which we all contain within ourselves, sometimes our masculine side is going to be a little bit more than our feminine side, because we're being called into action. So it's like it's a harmony thing. Best fast explanation that I have, that I've learned from you. But it's just us being in harmony with everything. And I feel like I feel like there's such a shift going on. I think that's what's creating so much, probably even a little bit more fear with some people, because they're so afraid of change. But it's like, this change is not a bad thing. We're actually going from one space to another. And then people start seeing other people leaving their physical being around them, and that creates a fear. But it's just a matter of us, from where we are right now, to be able to teach people. It's not that they're dying, they're leaving the physical experience. They're like being born back into energy. They're right here, right now with us, helping us, guiding us, talking to us, communicating with us, helping us shift along, helping us learn what we intended to learn when we came here, whatever that might be. That part right there, I kind of go back and forth with what we should be doing. And sometimes it's just a lot, because it's like, I feel like most of the time it's just a matter of learning to love. Especially if we didn't have it before, or maybe we didn't do it before. It's like, I'm reading the memories of heaven, because I already finished the other book we were talking about last week. So I'm reading Memories of Heaven, and these kids are just talking about how they picked their own parents. And one of them was talking about, this time he had a swastika on his sleeve because he was military, and he had killed a lot of people. And he had told his mom that this is what he had seen. I think he was a girl this time, blonde hair, blue eyes. And she asked, well, what are you here for? And she said, I'm here to be, to love, to basically to learn what they didn't do in the last lifetime. So, I mean, so there's like, I can go all over the place with that stuff, because it's like, there's so much different information. But it's not that anything is right or wrong, because it's all right. It's all happening at the same time. It's not anything that you said was right or wrong, or that I'm saying is right or wrong. It's in my experience that this is what I'm learning. But everything is right. Everything is like, nobody is wrong. It's just such a weird place. It's just a matter of perspective and perceptions, and it's our growth, and what level are we on right now. Level as far as what dimension you're on, which I'm probably getting a little bit too far off on the conversation, but there's just a lot going on all the time. And the more connected you get with yourself, the more that you can recognize this stuff. And being grounded is one of the most important things, because being grounded means you're not all up in your head. It means you're not all about being this spiritual, trying to be, because we talked before about trying to be out of the physical body. We came here to enjoy this experience. Like, let's enjoy this experience.
Right. And it's the whole fear base of media. I mean, it's just started years ago, when the news started coming out in newspaper form or over the radio. It's marketing, and they want you to get hooked in. And so a headline that is fear-based is more apt to get you hooked in, because it's drama related. Everybody wants to know the drama. Everybody wants to know what's going on, right? What's the dirt? What's the who's cheating on who, or who's doing what to who, right? That's the hook. That's marketing, and they know it.
Yes.
And so they keep the marketing fear-based, so that they can hook you in, draw you in. And then, unless we're tuned in to, well, first, unless we do our own research to decide if this is something that's beneficial or not for ourselves, or if we are not tuned in to our own energy to recognize this headline is fear-based, or this headline doesn't make me feel good, or this headline makes me scared. If I'm not tuned into me, I'm not going to recognize that, and I'm going to get drawn in. When I saw those headlines, a lot of the headlines I read, I'll just sit and say a quick prayer. I'm like, oh, pray that you know, everything works out for you, or that you find the solution that you need. But when it came to the moon and the earth, immediately my head went to, well, look at how many people on the planet are in that fear-based energy, which is contributing to the earth being, like I just said, I could be off some days. I just feel off because I'm not grounded in my body. Well, the earth has all this energy on it from all of us as humans, and it's feeling that in the way that the earth can feel it, or the moon can sense it. And so it's off. It's not grounded because we're not grounded. And that's where my head went with all of that. So keeping in mind that it is so important when I talk about doing an internal inventory, it is because not only to be aware of how you're doing within yourself, but to recognize what externally of me helps me feel good and makes me and contributes to me not feeling good. And if it contributes to me not feeling good, I don't really want to give that much attention to it. Some things we do need to be aware of what's going on around us within the world, just to have an awareness, but that doesn't mean I need to get drawn in and sucked into all of it. Right? Oh, that doesn't feel good. You know what? I pray that they find a means of remedying this problem. I can say a prayer. That keeps me in a feel-good space. It doesn't suck me into the fear-based drama. And so, yes, Abraham says everything is the way it's supposed to be. We are the way we're supposed to be. We're here to learn and grow. We're each on a different phase of our journey. That's why Bev and I show up to share what we know to maybe help you with where you're at. And so let's talk about some grounding, because we need to get people grounded. Just like, yeah, we could go in so many directions with our conversation today. But I think it would be good to talk about other ways of being grounded.
Well, one of the ways would be tapping your heart, bringing your body, your energy into your center.
And just,
your heart center.
Yeah, so the heart center right there on the breastbone, that's also where your thymus gland is. And so when you're tapping on that, you're activating your thymus gland. I thought that was pretty awesome to know.
Yeah, and then taking breaths, like noticing that.
Oh, man. You can also just stack your hands, right?
Yeah.
Because I know for me, if I'm all, feeling a little wonky, that if I sit down and just take my hands and just place them over my heart and just breathe, like the warmth of my hands on my chest over my heart center is so soothing, so comforting. And it really just says, come from here, come from your head, let's drop down into the heart, right? And be in that space.
We talked earlier about putting your feet in the soil. Yeah. I mean, you could even you could go get some organic soil and actually bury your feet into that soil, have like an area that's just yours. You could go get a 10 by 10 area or a 6 by 6 area and plant grass so that you could just go lay in that grass. Just take some breaths for a few minutes. Just lay there. Just notice the earth below you. Just really center yourself into it. Guided meditation. Oh, yes. Hug that tree.
Hug the tree.
Amazing.
Or maybe the trees, I don't know, You maybe just want to put your hand on the tree or hands, or just a house plant. If you have a house plant, you can put your fingers in the soil, or love on the leaves.
Yes. You've done meditation, guided meditation to grounding, you know, seeing like roots coming through your feet to the center of the earth. I've heard a lot of stuff, you know, different guidances that way. And you can even visualize doing that, you know, if you can, because not everybody can visualize just yet, but know that you'll be able to. Just keep focusing or keep practicing and playing. But just seeing that your feet are grounded into the earth.
Yeah, you listen. You mentioned listening to your heartbeat and
Oh,
feeling
yes.
airflow. That brings you very centered, very in the present moment, because you're tuning in to the sound of the beat and the breath.
And to me, paying attention to just paying attention to that emotion that you're feeling right that moment. You know, initially you might feel like you're outside of yourself, but you kind of go right back into your center pretty quick as soon as you start acknowledging that. Just like if you have a pain in your body, going to that, you know, noticing that pain in your body, being aware of yourself, because it takes you to the now, which kind of, if you're in the now, you're grounded. I mean, I feel like you're grounded.
Yes, being in the now. You could, as bring yourself present, you can just feel the material of whatever you're wearing. If you're not wearing anything, then just maybe, you know, rub your hand over your skin and just bring yourself present. So, water.
Oh, yes, always.
Water. Could be a bath, could be a jacuzzi, could be a pool.
Could be just running your arms. So one of the teachers that I had, she would, you know, she would even either have bowls of water next to the table when she was doing massage or Reiki or that stuff, because she would actually get her arm all the way in it, and then she would take it and like fling down this energy from her body. But that would bring her so present and grounded at the same time. But running that water, if you, especially when it's warm outside, when you take that cool water and just let it hit like at the bend of your elbow and let it run down your wrists into your hands, that really does, it cleanses your energy and it just brings you right present.
Nice. If before you start your day, you take a shower, use the water flowing over your head, just feeling it down over your body. Some people will use color, imagining that the water is different colors, maybe the chakra colors or whatever color works for you, and cleansing the energy that way, and seeing the muck and gut go down the drain, right?
Which is also awesome.
Yes, very.
I'll tell you what, if you're singing a song that you know very well and you're like totally missing all the lyrics, you probably need to be grounded. Like, here's your check right here. And then just being present, like really focusing in on those words, really feeling those words. When you know that song, really freaking belt it out. It doesn't matter how well your voice is or anything like that. Just do it. And then feel that whole emotion of that singing and everything. That is like such a connectedness with everything. That's with everything, with the earth, with everyone around you, with the spirit, with the creator, however you want to refer to God or the higher energies. It's the divine lights. You know, it's just, you just become in such a connection with that, all that kind of stuff. Play with freaking kids, like really laugh and play with kids. You want to be centered and be right now?
Laughter.
Like, yes.
I,
Copycat a kid.
I watched a video the other night. It was super late, of animals. I was in hysterics, man. I was laughing and I was crying because it was so funny. Yes, laughter, singing, like you said, singing, dancing. For me to be in that space, it's got to be something that's very uplifting. It's got to be uplifting music, positive lyrics, because you can have some good dance music, but the lyrics are on a whole other spectrum. And it took me a while to figure that out, but because there were a lot of songs, man, I'm like, oh, this music's great, right? Get my groove on. But then when I listened to the lyrics, I was like, oh, dang. Anyway.
So make your own lyrics. Listen to the beats of those songs and make it your own lyrics.
Right, exactly. And so But for the most part, any uplifting music, um, I can, that just really makes me feel good. And the words help me feel good. That really make my heart sing, not just my voice, but my heart just like is like, oh, these words are so amazing, right? Those are all ways of getting grounded. A hug.
Oh, yes. And not just a quick hug. It's got to
Oh,
be, you
not
got
the
to hug
pat.
first.
Oh, the pat.
Yeah.
Right? No, or somebody who hugs you and they're like rubbing you. I'm like, stop rubbing me. Um, no, it's an embrace. A
It
hug
is.
that lifts the serotonin and oxytocin in the body is an embrace, and holding it for like 10 to 15, 20 seconds. That's a couple rounds of deep breathing there. And so typically when I hug somebody, they want to hug and squeeze and tense up. And I can feel that, right? I'm sensitive to that, but I can just feel their body. And I'm like, take a breath. And we settle into the hug and we embrace. And then they're like, oh, God, I could just stay here all day. Right? They just love it so much because it's something foreign to their body, because a hug, most people come in, tense up, hold their breath, pat or rub, and then it's just, to me, that is more awkward than having an embraced hug.
Because that's just another tool to let you know where you're at. Because when you go in like that to do a hug real quick, that means you're already past the hug. You're in the process of this, but you're already past that hug, on to the next thing, because you're busy. You think you got all these things to do, and that hug slows you down. It
Yep.
makes you take a breath for a second, or a couple of deep breaths. To be honest with you, it's just another tool. Just like you said a second ago, sometimes you got to be in the right mood to dance. Man, that right there is huge for me. That means that as high as my vibration has gotten, it hasn't gotten to the space where I want to be dancing freely and always dancing. So that gives me something to strive for. Just by you saying that, now I have something that I'm striving for. I have an idea of what I'm looking at. I have an idea of waking up every morning, that I can be happy. I can be in this joyful place. I don't know how to get there yet. I haven't experienced it on a regular basis, but it's creating more questions within myself and a desire within myself to want to achieve these things, so that I know that I will.
Nice.
Because you've created a possibility. That's why it's so great for us to come together, because we co-create together.
Mm-hmm.
And by co-creating together, we present stuff. It's not always something that we agree upon. It creates questions within ourselves, so then it creates a desire within ourselves, so that we do more. We acknowledge that there is a possibility of more.
Yep.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I always learn from you as well. So I'm like, oh, she just said that. I don't know. So, yes, begin to implement that practice. So there's nothing else that you take from us. Implement the practice of just doing an internal inventory before you head out for your day, even if it's in your own house. I've been here for a couple weeks by myself in my house. Every day I still do my grounding process, because there is the energy of the headlines, there's the energy of the emails, the energy of social media. And even though I'm home by myself, I can still absorb energy from external sources. I could absorb the energy on a global level, because I can be that sensitive to it if I'm not aware. So even if you're home by yourself, begin that awareness. And I would encourage you that if you do wake up sad or quote unquote lonely, we're never alone, but we have the idea that we're alone. But if you're waking up in that low energy space, do something to raise your vibration, do something to help yourself feel better, feel a little closer to joy, because that's your, first and foremost, that's your responsibility anyway. It's not my job or Bev's job or anybody else's job to make you laugh or make you smile or make you feel good. We can encourage you by our actions, by our words, by our own energy. We can encourage you to do that, but nobody can make you do any of it. And so it's my responsibility for myself. It's Bev's responsibility for herself and the people around us as well. But we were raised and taught that it's the external circumstances that are going to contribute to the way I feel. And like Bev said earlier, in any given situation, we can still experience joy. And I know that people's heads are going to reel around to very traumatic experiences and wonder, how can I possibly experience joy when, mom died in a car crash, or so-and-so got shot, and I get that. You have the right to grieve. You have the right to be in that space and feel that sadness. However, we also get to choose how long we're going to stay in it. So if you're going to wake up sad, be in your sadness for a moment, and then choose to begin to raise your vibration, because collectively we are all contributing to the collective energy of this planet and beyond the planet. So that's my thought. Just saying.
And we're high energy. We have the capability of being a high energy. Even in our physical denseness, we have the capability. You see certain people as they start going higher and higher, or they seem happier and happier. It's probably an easier way for people to perceive. You see a person that seems happier and happier all the time. It doesn't matter if they're freaking 80 years old. They still look super young, vibrant, and there's a light showing within them. It's unmistakable. Their energy is so much more powerful than hundreds that are not, that are in their lower vibration, in their 3D reality, or in their what isness. But for me, like, the positive things are, my mom went through cancer, and that's how she decided to leave her body, her physical body, but she's not in that place anymore. That's where I find my joy. My mom is a happy person. She still shows me ridiculous hilarity from where she's at, that I get to witness and see. I still get to experience all that stuff. So it's like, there's always a nugget. Like you used to always say, it was a long time ago, but nugget was like the thing. There's a nugget in every situation. There's something good in everything. Sometimes we have to look, and sometimes you can't see it until you've kind of stepped far enough away from it to be able to see it from a higher perspective.
Right.
But it's there.
Right.
It's always there. It is our perception. Oh, so that's the way my mom chose to leave. Oh, Jim had a heart attack. That's the way he chose to take off out of this skin. He's like, peace out, man. I don't need that skin anymore. It's just that simple. It's that simple. It gives me goosebumps. That's my confirmation for me. He's like, it was that. That's how as exciting as it was. That's about as traumatic as it was for him. Was like, peace out. I'm done with you, skin. Till next time.
Yep. And we've talked about the death, the dying, the loss, grieving. We've talked about all of that. What if we did change our mindset that, not saying he was, not saying he wasn't, but that Jim was struggling within himself, with his self-love, with the stories he was telling himself, with his own mindset. He was like consumed by his own negativity that was within him. And the joy of it is that he released his physical body and is not doing that anymore. But that was an agreement between his spirit and his time here on earth. To me, yeah, Abraham says everything is as it should be. And I've heard other people talk about like suicide, that we all leave this planet exactly when we are supposed to. I struggle with the suicide part as far as that goes, because I just feel like we could, if we came together to recognize that people are struggling in themselves, that we could encourage them and help them lift their vibration to where they would continue to live out a longer lifespan. So I'm still on the fence about that topic because I was there myself in my own head. So, and I chose to continue to go. I chose to learn and grow within the physical body. I chose to be and do better so I could help others. So that might be a whole nother conversation. But I do feel like if we take responsibility for ourselves and where we're at with ourselves, internal inventory, this is how I feel, this is how I'm thinking, this is how my physical body feels, this is how I feel spiritually, and it's not so good, I get to choose. I have the choice to focus on something else that's going to help me be in a better place with myself in the physical body, not choose to take my life over it. But that's my perspective. And so there might be conversation down the road about that, which is fine. So, Ms. Bev, how are you, do you have anything to add to that?
Just as far as the suicide goes, I think that because I've been in that space too, I think that the best thing that we can do is to focus on our individual vibrations and raise them higher and listen to the guidance that we receive. Because if God or the creator of all that is can't intervene in someone like that or show them something different to keep a person here from following through with that action, that it's not, then we can't I mean, it's not something that we can do either besides being ourselves. But I'm not saying, at the same point, I'm not saying that you don't listen to your guidance, because our guidance could be, hey, look at that person over there and smile at him. Walk over and just put your hand on him and just say, you know what? For some reason, you just, I don't know why, but you got my attention. I just want you to know that you're cared for, or that you're loved. And that's it. It doesn't mean that it's going to change someone else, because we're not God. And it's not going to be up to us to stop someone else, or because some people have put the responsibility on themselves so much, like, why couldn't I have seen it? Why couldn't I have stopped it? I thought I loved that person enough. And it's not something that person did or didn't do, because that other person was going through whatever. And maybe that was the time for them to go out. Maybe that was maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm not on the other side right now to see what my contract was, or, if I was going to take I just don't think so. I know that I've gotten close to it. I have an understanding of how someone could feel that way, how someone could follow through in that aspect. I understand that, because when sometimes it seems so dark that you just can't. But yeah, it's just sending lots of love.
It's also thinking the same as far as Jim goes, that the mindset, the space they're in with themselves, that they just don't see any other way out of it.
Absolutely.
So they've chosen to return to spirit in that way.
Yes, and that I agree with, because it didn't matter how much I could present information. It didn't matter if I was pushing the information, if I was like presenting the information, if I was listening to Abraham in the bathroom a little extra loud that day, hoping that he might pick up on some information. Right. Because we can't hear what we can't hear. If we're not in that vibrational frequency to receive, we're not going to receive. If we think that we're alone, we shut ourselves off from everything, even though you have like all this millions of energy of individuals or souls or whatever around us at all times, because we're never alone. We got all these angels, we got all this stuff, but sometimes we just cut ourselves off, from it. And sometimes maybe they just came here to be a teacher for us to recognize how valuable this life is and how short it is.
Absolutely. And to be in the compassion of, we never know. We never know. We never know. We never know somebody's story.
No, we don't.
I was good at wearing a mask and nobody knew how
deep
and deeply depressed I was. So, yep. So 2 sides. I see both sides. I see there's possibility on one side, but I also understand the other side. So anyway, get grounded in yourself.
That's right. Give yourself some love, man.
Love yourself, because that is your job. It is not anybody else's. And you are already loved, because you're a spirit and body. You are part of Source. Source is pure love. We're loved already.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
We just need to connect to that and shine brighter. So thank you so much for your time and energy and being here with us. And I appreciate the conversation with Bev. And every week we learn and grow from each other as we bring forth information to help you as well. So we'd love to hear from you. So you can leave comments, questions for us, we'll we will interact with you, and or you can reach out to us through email support. That's my email, amieandbev@gmail.com, amieandbev@gmail.com. Or you can join us on Facebook, Amie and Bev or Amie and Bev Community. Any last words?
Have a fantastic week.
Yes, make it amazing. See you next week.